Hello. Today we're going to go over the basic operation and adjustments for the TDP 5 and the TDP 1.5 tablet press. The first adjustment we're going to talk about is the ejection height. And that's the height of which the bottom pin or punch will come up and eject the pill. We don't want the ejection height to exceed the base of this machine here because the filler cup will run into it and may cause some damage. So what we need to do here is make sure that the ejection height, this pin here, and I'm going to get a little closer for you, okay, this pin right here is, you want this to be flush with the tabletop here, basically. So in order to do that, if it's riding a little bit high, we need to loosen this screw here at the bottom. And let me show you the screw here. Okay, we need to loosen this. This requires a 5mm Allen wrench. And what we want to do is loosen this up and pull away this plate. The top wheel is going to adjust your ejection height. Turn it one way, the ejection height will come down. Turn it the other way, and it'll come up. What we're trying to do is, when this pin reaches its very top position, we want it flush here. Once it's flush, you basically lock this back in, and you're good to go. So, this one's already set, and there's really not much to do there. So we're basically going to leave it as it is. The next adjustment we're going to talk about is the tablet thickness. And in order to make the tablet thinner or thicker, again, it's this bottom plate here. We need to loosen this screw again. And we need to turn this bottom wheel. The bottom wheel, if you turn it to the left, it's going to make the tablets a little thinner. If you turn it to the right, the tablets will become thicker. Now you only want to do adjustments in small increments, maybe a half a turn around. Try it, see if it works. Always check your ejection height after you make any adjustment because you don't want to break anything. I'd like to take the opportunity to talk about the tools required to actually make these physical adjustments on this machine and make your life a little bit easier. One would be a 5 and a 6mm standard Allen wrench, and you're going to find that there's a 5 and 6mm Allen wrench you'll need to make your adjustments on. The other item would be an adjustable wrench, not too big, not too small. Two of them is very helpful. You'll actually need two. Another item would be a standard needle nose plier, and a needle nose plier is required sometimes when you want to change the die and you want to reach down inside here to grab the bottom punch. It just makes it easier if you have a needle nose pliers. The next thing we're going to do is make a few tablets. I removed the stainless steel trough only to make it easy to show you how to make the adjustments, but we're going to put that back on and we'll get started with this right away. Okay, now that we have the trough back on, what we're going to do now is we're going to load a little powder into our funnel. This is a pre-mix powder. It's all ready to go. And I'll get into how to make your pre-mix a little bit later on here. Okay, we got a couple of, well, we'll put one more spoon in there. You want to have enough in there to get to the machine, to have enough weight in there to actually push the powder down. A good couple of tablespoons will work fine. Now, anytime we're ready to make tablets, what you really need to do, and you can't forget this, is to make sure that all your bolts are tight and everything is set the way it's supposed to be. You want to double check your ejection height again. You just want to make sure everything's tightened up and there's not going to be any issues. You want to keep it safe, you want to keep the machine reliable, and you just don't want any problems. Now that I have the power is on, I just need to press this button here and we're going to see what the tablets look like. Okay, that's enough. We made 6 tablets right here real quick. And we're going to look at these 6 tablets. Let's see if I can show you here what they look like. We'll get a little zoom in on them. And you could see that they're pretty nice. They're a pretty nice size. They're very, very hard. Well, I just broke this one, so we can increase the hardness on that. Let's see if this one's... they're actually pretty good. But let's see, if we wanted to make them thicker now, or thinner, or harder, or softer, this is where we need to do our adjustments. Okay, I removed the stainless steel tray again, just to make the adjustments a little easier. Actually, just so I could show you how to make the adjustments. You could really leave it in place any time to make the adjustments. But here we go. We're going to make the pills a little bit thinner. Let's see how that works. So first what we're going to do is we're going to loosen this up here. And we have to get it nice and loose. And our objective here is to turn the bottom wheel to the left to make them thinner. But we don't want to upset the top wheel because the top wheel controls our ejection height. So we're going to try to hold it in place, turn this bottom wheel to the left, and I'm going to exaggerate it a bit so we make a nice thin pill so you could see what the difference is. Now the next thing we want to do is lock this pin back into place. Make sure that it's locked top and bottom in the grooves and give it a nice snug turn. Not too tight, we don't need to break anything. Okay, we'll double check the ejection height simply by turning the machine by hand. There's another tablet in there. Make sure the ejection height didn't move and it's fine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the trough back on and try to make a few pills and see how thin they come out. Okay, the trough's back on and we're ready to give it a try. Here we go. Okay, as you can see, here's the new pill, and here's the old pill. I'm going to get a little closer on that so you can get an idea of where you're at. It's probably, close to 50% of its original size. So there you go. Now, we want to check the hardness now. Is the pill hard enough? It actually, it's borderline. We can tighten it up a little bit. But when you make them harder, you also make them a little bit thinner. So you want to kind of compensate for that with how thick initially you're going to make your pills. So here's what we're going to do here. We're going to do an adjustment that's going to make our pills a little bit harder, and then you're going to see them come out thinner as a result. Okay, to make this adjustment, what we need to do here is pretty simple, actually. Let me just try to focus in here a little bit. Our objective here is to loosen this lock nut and turn this entire rod, this rod here, that holds the upper punch, and we want to turn the rod, a half a turn or so, towards the machine, towards the base of the machine. So we turn it to the left. If we want the pills softer for some reason, we're going to turn it to the right. So it's actually a pretty simple operation, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to hold the lock nut in place with one of our wrenches, and we're going to take the other wrench and get the machine to a point where you can expose the silver bolt on the bottom. And we're going to hold the silver bolt on the bottom. Now you want to unlock it by turning it to the left, and that unlocks the lock nut. And now we can turn the entire rod simply by moving this nut here. You'll see the whole rod will turn to the right. That'll make it tighter. Now when you get it to the position you want, and you don't want to do it too much because it only takes a very small increment to make the pill tighter. We want to put the lock nut back on nice and tight, and we're going to hold it again with the 2 wrenches. And we're going to tighten up that lock nut. And that's essentially it. Again, what you want to do again is you want to crank one by hand to make sure that nothing's going to bind. You didn't make it too tight. Looks good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the machine on, and we're going to punch out a few more pills, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, as you can see, these pills are very thin. They're thinner than they were after we made our adjustment. And I'm sure now they're very hard. Yes, they're very hard. Okay, you can probably break it if you really tried, but I can't even break this one. So they're more than hard enough. So at that point, we can back off on it if we want our pills a little bit thicker and still retain a relatively hard pill. Or we can just, if you want your pills thicker but you want to keep that hardness, then you have to make the adjustment with that lower wheel at the bottom again. Turn it to the right, you'll get a thicker pill. Turn it to the left, you'll get a thinner pill. Always double check your adjustments and the tightness of your screws. Always. And always do it by hand before you power the machine on with the motor. It's very important. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to break anything. Okay, now I'm going to show you a very useful technique that I've come up with that you'll find to be very useful. First, you need yourself a paintbrush, a standard paintbrush. You can pick them up at a dollar store. You don't need to spend a lot of money. We're not doing any painting. We're going to turn our machine on, and as the pills come down the trough, we're going to go ahead and sweep them in, powder and all, because you're going to get some excess powder coming off. And we're going to save that powder, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's just make a few, and let's see how it goes. As you can see, dropping into the bowl, and it'll roughly make 1 a second. Once in a while, you'll get a little bit of a log jam. Okay, you can see the machine works pretty flawlessly, and we'll just keep pumping them out as long as you have it powered on. Now, what I want to show you here is we're going to clean the machine up. We'll pretend that the day's over, and what we want to do is we want to clean the machine up, and we want to run our last little bit of powder through. So what I would do here is sweep everything into the bowl with my paintbrush, and then pick yourself up an inexpensive little strainer, a little fine strainer. At that point, what you do is very simple. You strain your pills and your powder into a bowl. And you want to shake everything out. Make sure you have all the powder and you remain with a nice clean tablet. And that's really all you wanted. The excess powder, put right back in the trough, and you can continue on, and get a few more pills out of it. There'll come to a point when you're going to make your 5 or 6 last pills, and they're going to be soft or broken, and the machine just can't make those pills hard because there's just not enough material. You may want to save that material in a baggie or something until next time.